Ethan Walker was, by most accounts, a lucky man. At 39, he had a comfortable job as an IT consultant, a beautiful four-bedroom house in a quiet Oregon suburb, and a wife that turned heads at every dinner party. Claire Walker was elegance wrapped in warm smiles, with a laugh that could fill a room and a grace that made people feel at ease. They'd been married for 8 years, no children by choice, and everything on the surface looked perfect. But lately, Ethan couldn't shake a feeling, a strange, gnawing instinct deep in his gut. Claire had become more distant, distracted. Her late-night yoga classes grew more frequent. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always in her pocket, face down, locked. He wasn't the jealous type, or at least he hadn't been. But years of working with cybersecurity firms had taught Ethan something most people never wanted to admit. The truth was always buried under layers, and if you dug carefully enough, you'd find it. So, on a rainy Friday evening, while Claire was at the gym, Ethan installed a small camera inside the vent of their living room bookshelf, a wireless spy cam, small as a nickel with a motion sensor and real-time recording to a private cloud drive. He hated the idea, hated himself for it, but curiosity and suspicion had become a cancer. For 2 days, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Claire reading a book, Claire watching Netflix, Claire pacing during phone calls, although she kept her voice too low to catch much. Then came Tuesday night. Ethan sat at his office desktop and opened the motion trigger footage from earlier that evening. The first clip showed Claire entering the house alone. Then, around 9:12 p.m., a man walked in behind her. Not a delivery guy, not a neighbor. This man was tall, broad-shouldered, with a sharp jaw and confident posture. Claire laughed, really laughed, and threw her arms around his neck. The kiss they shared was not something between friends. Ethan felt the air drain from his lungs. He watched, numb, as the man sat on his couch, as Claire poured his wine, as they whispered and touched and kissed. Then, in a moment both surreal and cruel, Claire said clearly, "Ethan's clueless. He's too busy trying to protect other people's computers to notice what's going on in his own house." The man chuckled. "You sure he's not on to us?" Claire grinned. "He still thinks I'm going to yoga twice a week. He wouldn't even know how to use a spy cam." Ethan slammed the laptop shut. She was mocking him, mocking his profession, his instincts, his trust. Ethan didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he copied every piece of footage, archived it, and started observing. Over the next 2 weeks, he discovered that Claire wasn't just having an affair. She was living a double life. Using her fingerprint while she was asleep, he unlocked her phone one night and found encrypted chats, burner numbers, bank transfers. Her yoga nights were meetings with that same man, whose name Ethan found from her texts was Marcus Hale. Marcus wasn't just a fling. He was her handler. Claire Walker, his charming, elegant wife, was an operative, a corporate spy planted into Ethan's life to extract confidential information from the cybersecurity firms he worked with. She had been seducing, studying, and siphoning information from him for nearly 3 years. And she was good at it. So good. He hadn't seen it coming. Ethan could have gone to the authorities. But he didn't trust them. Not yet. He needed to know how far it went. And most of all, he needed revenge. He began feeding her false data. Fake passwords, dummy protocols, fictitious contracts between government defense agencies and his clients. All of it encrypted to ping back to him the moment it was accessed on unauthorized devices. Within 2 weeks, one of his firm's dummy projects had leaked to a foreign competitor, a sting Ethan had engineered perfectly. Claire, of course, had no idea the files were bait. He watched as panic began to replace her cool demeanor. Her late-night phone calls became heated. Marcus visited more often, and their conversations, recorded on the spy cam, grew tense. Then came the night when Claire made her biggest mistake. "I think Ethan knows," she said. "He's acting weird. He asked me about a project I never mentioned to him." Marcus narrowed his eyes. "If he knows, he's dangerous. You need to handle it. Tonight." Ethan stopped the video and took a deep breath. It was time. That evening, Ethan cooked dinner. Candlelight. her favorite wine. He played the part perfectly. The oblivious husband, still in love. Claire tried to smile through her tension. "Big day at work?" she asked. "You have no idea," Ethan replied, pouring her a glass. Halfway through the meal, he stood and walked to the living room. From under the shelf, he pulled the spy cam, held it in his palm, and set it on the table. Claire's face drained of color. "I think you dropped this," he said quietly. She reached for her wine with a trembling hand. "Ethan, He interrupted her by placing his phone on the table and playing a recording of her and Marcus, the one where she mocked him. Silence. Then tears. "You don't understand," she said, voice cracking. "They threatened me. I didn't want to." "You did," Ethan said coldly. "For years. You did want to, and now you're done." He pulled out a file folder and placed it in front of her. Inside were printed emails, chat logs, bank transactions, fake files she'd stolen, and the trace logs he had set to prove espionage. "I'm giving you one chance," he said. "Leave tonight. Go wherever Marcus is hiding. But know this, I've already submitted a report to the FBI. They'll come knocking soon." Claire sat motionless, processing her fate. "You won't be arrested today," he said, "but you'll always be running." She stood slowly. No tears now, no explanations, just a cold, defeated resignation. "I never loved him," she said. Ethan didn't respond. She left with nothing but her purse. Weeks later, the FBI did show up. Ethan cooperated fully. His carefully packaged files helped him open a case into international data theft. He testified behind closed doors. His name was kept out of the press. Claire Walker and Marcus Hale vanished. Some said they were spotted in Dubai. Others claimed they were using new names in South America. Ethan didn't care. He had rebuilt his life from the rubble of deceit. The house was quiet now, but it was his again. And in his new office, where the old bookshelf once stood, sat a different kind of camera, turned outward this time, watching the world, and never again being fooled. Life after Claire wasn't easy. Ethan spent months untangling the web she had spun around his career, his clients, and his reputation. Though the FBI cleared him of any wrongdoing, suspicion still lingered in some circles. People whispered, "Trust, once broken, is slow to rebuild." But Ethan wasn't interested in sympathy. He was interested in understanding. So he did what he did best. He investigated. Using encrypted search tools and accessing dark web forums with old credentials from his hacker youth, Ethan began tracing Claire and Marcus. He never told the FBI what he was doing. He told no one. He found breadcrumbs. Not many, but enough. A shell company in Belize, registered 3 months before she disappeared. A Swiss account linked to Marcus's offshore dealings. A private jet flight manifest. 2 unidentified passengers matching the descriptions, last seen in Jakarta. They were still out there, still active, and still using data Ethan once had access to. The thought haunted him, until one day, something changed. He received an anonymous message in his encrypted inbox. You shouldn't have gone looking. You had your chance to walk away. No name, no IP trail, but the signature was familiar. Marcus. Ethan stared at the message for a long time. Then he smiled. He typed a reply. "You made it personal. Now it's my turn." Ethan was no longer just an IT consultant. He reinvented himself. By day, he still worked contracts. Quiet, secure, government-adjacent work with only the most trusted firms. But by night, Ethan became something else, a digital ghost. He began tracking corporate espionage rings, setting traps in underground forums, exposing fraudsters through leaks and whistleblower drops, and always quietly searching for Claire and Marcus. He found their digital fingerprints embedded in a ransomware ring tied to a Malaysian tech firm. Weeks later, in a string of suspicious data breaches involving weapons contractors, it was always indirect, always behind proxies, until one day he caught a break. A camera feed, public access through a hotel lobby in Prague. Caught a woman in a red coat, Claire's coat, same walk, same flick of the hair, same mannerisms. He zoomed in and froze the frame. Her eyes. She was alive. She was close. Ethan arrived in Prague 2 days later, under a false name. He checked into the same hotel, booked the same floor, and waited. The second night, around 1 a.m., he heard soft footsteps in the hallway. He cracked the door just slightly, and there she was, Claire, standing outside a suite at the end of the corridor, swiping a stolen keycard. He stepped out. Funny how the hunted always returns to old patterns, he said softly. She turned, frozen, no shock in her eyes, just a flicker of pain. Ethan, she said, like a ghost recognizing its past. You left a trail, he said. You always did. Marcus didn't see it, but I did. Claire lowered her hand. What do you want? I want this to end, Ethan said. For good. Claire gave a sad smile. You still think this is about you? Marcus is working with people way beyond anything you knew. And they know your name now. I hope they do. You won't survive this, she warned. I already did. They stood in silence for a moment. 8 years of marriage compressed into the distance between them. Finally, Claire spoke. I didn't fake all of it. There were nights, memories that were real. Maybe, Ethan said, but they died with the first lie. He turned and walked away. Behind him, he heard the soft click of a door shutting. He never looked back. Months passed. The Prague hotel incident triggered a series of raids across Europe. Marcus's network was exposed in part thanks to data Ethan passed anonymously to international agencies. Marcus vanished again. Claire wasn't arrested. There was no solid proof. But she never surfaced in any known city after that. Ethan kept working, but he moved to quieter places. First Vancouver, then Finland. He never married again. Never trusted anyone with that kind of closeness. But he never gave up the hunt either. Not for revenge anymore. For justice. He still keeps a camera in his home. Old habit. But now, it points at the front door. And behind it sits a man who once thought love was sacred, truth was certain, and betrayal something that happened to other people. Not anymore. Now he sees everything. And forgets nothing.